Hello and welcome back to the Novice Lumberjack, where I realize I should probably give you guys a little bit of an update because I keep getting a lot of questions about how I'm settling into New York and things like that. But as you can see, I'm clearly still in my garage in Atlanta, Georgia. So here's what's going on. And then maybe we'll talk about some chainsaws. The house in New York is not ours yet. We were granted early entry because my wife needed to be up there to start her new job. And so we've got to pay, like we're currently like renting the house daily, right? We don't even have a closing date yet. And I'm going to try not to be bitter about this, but it is what it is. So the house that we're moving into in New York was owned by an older gentleman who ended up having health problems and had to move out. Well, it's a tight community up there. Everybody knows everybody. And so it had been passed around, hey, whenever Billy is ready to sell, I want to buy. When Billy's ready to sell, I want to buy. And so he didn't even have to hit the market at all. He went ahead and worked out a deal with one of the property owners that was nearby because the house was originally on 128 acres. And that person who wanted the house wanted it for the big 100-acre field that is across the street. They didn't want the 28 acres that the house sits on with, it's actually 6 acres that the house sits on with 22-acre field behind it. They didn't want that. They wanted the 100 acres on the other side because that's where all their property is, on that side of the road. And so it sold immediately, and then they put it on market, and I think that we were the very first people to look at it, which is the second time that that's happened to me and Irene. We saw it. We looked at it, we made an offer, they accepted the offer, boom, moving forward, right? Well, the guy who bought it, if he's capable of buying it in the manner that he did, he's sitting on money. Not only is he sitting on money, he's also old. And what do old people with a lot of money do? They tend to move slowly. Because the money that me and Irene are putting down and purchasing the house for will change his daily life, not one iota, So he doesn't give a shit, right? And to him, he is moving fast if he schedules an appointment to do something 2 weeks from now. So all of this stuff, like me and Irene, whenever we get documents that we need to sign, we get it via email. And we sign it. The program's called Dot Loop. There's multiple different ones. The ones that our agents are using is Dot Loop. And they can just send us a document. We can read it, sign it right there within just minutes, And we do. Boom, 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 right? But there are certain things that are the seller's responsibility, such as inspection of the well, right? Well, it took like 2 weeks just to get an inspection, period. And whenever it got an inspection, it failed, right? It failed because it needed a new cap on the top of the well and some, like the wiring going down into the well for the pump and all that stuff had to be like the outdoor stuff, liquid tight or something of that nature, So they needed to do that. Well, again, this guy is a multi-millionaire, and he doesn't give a shit about anything. He's like, hey, Tom, go fix it. Well, Tom might forget about it. I don't know, but they're moving excessively slowly because nothing is important to them. I'm just thankful that they were okay and agreed that we could have early entry because that's saving Irene and myself a small fortune because she doesn't have to get a hotel room, or we were thinking maybe rent out an Airbnb. And so At least we get to be in the house, or she does, you know. But I can't move any of the stuff down here in Atlanta until we at least have a closing date up there, but we still don't know exactly when that closing date's going to happen. Another thing to compound the problem is that with it, the whole financial process started whenever I was still up in New York looking at houses to purchase. And Irene just thought that it would be easier to get a VA loan because I am a veteran. And to anybody that would just say, thank you for your service, you're welcome. I did it just for you. Anyways, so she went with a VA loan. Well, the way that the VA loans are set up is they are very protective of the veteran, which means they need more inspections than most, even though there was only two inspections. No, 3. So you had to get a septic inspection, a well water inspection, as well as a pest inspection. The only thing that fell on me was a pest inspection. Well, I got it immediately and turned it in. We're good with that. But one of the things that they do that is part of their protection is you have to provide an invoice that shows that you paid for that inspection. Well, this is a big problem for people who aren't used to that, or don't have much investment going on. And so like what the guy did was he paid for the inspection, and the inspection gets done. Finally, after like 3 weeks, it gets completed and finished, and the well has passed inspection, and they send that off, and VA is like, where's the invoice? And the guy's like, I don't know. It was like $150. I threw it in trash. Well, now they got to come up with an invoice, and what might end up having to happen is they just have to have it re-inspected so they can get a new invoice. And so there's just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and it's all simple, stupid little shit, but it's real and it's required before we can move forward. Another thing is the older gentleman, that's currently owns the place. He's not going to sign anything on dot loop. He doesn't trust anything like that. He's an old man, and so he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to sign it at my attorney's office, which means every time he has to sign any document, they need to get his old ass in to the attorney's office to physically sign it. And so it's just a headache like you wouldn't believe. And this is the most painful buying process I've ever done. I have, in my lifetime, purchased, 4 different homes, something like that. And my wife has purchased 2 or 3 herself, and neither one of us have experienced anything as absurd and complicated as this one. And so I plan on getting pods. Most all of our stuff is already boxed up, most of it, except for everything in my garage, because it just ain't going to work that way. All of these are going to just go into great big totes and then put into the back, into a pods container. But anywho, so the plan is, as soon as we get a closing date, then we know we're good, we're rolling forward. Then I will schedule 3 pods. They will bring them here. I will load them up. Then they will ship them to New York. Hopefully nearly everything gets in there, because otherwise I have to make back and forth trips in my little Nissan pulling a big ass trailer, and it only gets 12 miles a gallon whenever it's pulling that trailer. And like my tractor is, if it doesn't go with this property, then it has to go up north. That's like 1 trip right there, just to bring the tractor up. And real pain in the ass. And even still, once we get everything here moved, I still can't just leave this house abandoned until it sells. I have to be here to, depending on how long it takes to sell it, I have to be here to mow the grass. I have to be here to make sure that people know that someone lives here. Otherwise, the crackheads and the meth heads will come in and steal every stitch of copper in this place. and they might just move in and become squatters. And then that's a whole nother headache. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. So every time that one of you guys is like, hey, I see you're getting settled in at New York. It's like, not really. Not really. So Irene's living up there, and Irene's started her new job, and which she likes it. It has its challenges, like all jobs do, but everybody that she works with, she likes them, says they're really sweet and nice, and which is par for the course up there. Everybody seems to be ridiculously friendly, and I'm completely unused to that. I know a lot of you guys think that the South has a lot of nice, friendly people. It's not been my experience. People down here typically do not want to talk to you unless they already know you. And all the little friendliness is just like, oh, well, bless your heart. Like that, anyways. So, and I've lived here for 30 years in the South, roughly, and so that's part of I'm like, it's a rare occasion whenever I meet somebody and we actually hit it off. But, I have met some good people for sure. Again, I can't say that enough. I know some good people in the South. Absolutely. And if you know me, you know that you're probably one of the ones that I'm talking about. There's an abnormally large amount of people that I don't want to waste my time on, and they're all over. Some of them are in Atlanta, some of them are outside of Atlanta. The big city is typically actually filled with people from outside of the South. They moved here for job opportunities or something like that. That's another thing that's crazy is, a lot of people just can't fathom how big Atlanta actually is. Even if you drive through it, you don't get an idea of how big it is. It's sprawling. Absolutely sprawling. Like whenever I was in New York and my wife and I drove to Buffalo, she's looking at the GPS and sees where it says, that we've got 45 miles to go before we get to the Anchor Bar. It's like right in downtown Buffalo. Everybody knows about Buffalo. Buffalo is a major city. I believe it is the second largest city in the entire state of New York. It's a big city. But it's 45 miles from Buffalo, and it's just absolutely nothing. There's nothing there. There's no homes. I guess there's some homes, rural farms and things like that. But in Atlanta, 45 minutes from the center of Atlanta, you're still right off the interstate. It's city. It's city. It's so big and sprawling. And to get from one side to the other side, depending on the time of the day, it might take you over an hour and a half. Seriously. My wife down here worked in the center of Atlanta. And whenever she would drive, we're only 20 miles from the center of Atlanta. When she drove from work to home, oftentimes it would take her an hour and 20 minutes. Sometimes it literally took her 2 hours if like a car wreck happened, something like that. And so the idea that a city that's big enough to have an NFL team, a popular NFL team, who I do believe has won the Super Bowl multiple times, right? And you're telling me that you don't even start to hit the city until at all, the suburbs of the city. You don't start to hit any of that until you're like 20 minutes from the center of it. We're like, holy shit. Atlanta is huge. I've been to a lot of different cities, you know, and as far as the ones that are bigger than Atlanta, you've got to get to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You've got to get to, of course, LA and New York City, things of that nature. Anything else like Pittsburgh, even Chicago. Chicago's pretty big. It's pretty darn big, but doesn't hold a candle to Atlanta. You've got to get to the big ones, the LAs, you know, the Dallas-Fort Worth, the New York City, and I got to say Nashville maybe. Nashville has gotten, from what I hear, extremely big. But I don't know how I got on that, but I did. Yeah. All right, so here I am in Atlanta, basically just playing a waiting game. And it's like, I don't want to do anything new. Like I'm thinking, well, I've still got my equipment. I could port another chainsaw. but you know, I'm in this limbo waiting game, and it's a pain in the ass. And I fully expect this exact limbo to be happening for another week at least before I even get a closing date. So before we have all of our stuff moved in up there, I think it's probably going to take 6 weeks from now, you know, before all of our stuff is actually moved in up there and we actually own the home. So that's what's going on. There you have it. So if I come out with a video, basically it's just a video to give you guys something to watch, not something that I'm particularly interested in filming, creating, building, whatever. I mean, the Shenandoah video, I was interested in that. Been wanting to do that for a long time. But I keep looking at all the stuff that I got, and I'm like, I mean, I could port that Solo. Ta-da! The Solo 6656. I could play with this some. But then I'm like, I don't know, to what end? Just cut a couple cookies. So anywho, that's where I'm at. Plus, you know, there's other things too, like I know. That's a little better, isn't it? Ugh. If you wonder why that right there, that line always shows up, it's because that light right there. And I'm always trying to find a way to get it out of the screen. Anywho, so another thing that's really slowing me down on wanting to take on new projects is because I know that whenever I move up north and this place sells, that's the key, okay? Until this place sells, we're going to be pretty strapped for cash. So, but when this place sells and I'm living up north, I'll have enough money, I'm going to buy me a new lathe. I've already pretty well decided on it. I'm going to get the Grizzly. I talked with Brennan about it. And, you know, because he knows a lot more about the equipment and stuff than I do, probably than I ever will, honestly. Because, I mean, yeah, I can obviously operate some on the machines and stuff, but on the lathes and the milling machines and stuff like that. but I don't know anything about them. You know, I don't know what any little part is called. I can look at it and figure out what it does and go, okay, yeah, I can turn it this way, and it'll feed in like this at an angle, and I'll be able to cut an angled combustion chamber, you know, and then the piston to match that and stuff. I can figure stuff out like that. But as far as like what to buy, like I said, I don't even know what they're called and stuff. Like I got a quick tool mount finally, but you know, trying to figure out which quick tool mount would work on my machine was a real pain in the ass whenever you have no knowledge whatsoever about the tools and what size you're supposed to get, you know. So anyways, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a Grizzly. I think it's got like a 13-inch swing, so I should be able to do any size cylinder I want. I know if you get one of those small tabletop lathes, you won't be able to fit the larger cylinders on there, and not even larger like a lot of the Husqvarna 5 Series stuff, because they're laid out at an angle, then they take up a lot more space. It's not a larger displacement cylinder. They're just angled, and you have to have room so that whenever it rolls around, the cylinder's not smacking up against your tool post and things. So anyways, yeah, I think I'll probably get the Grizzly. It's about $2,700, something like that. And so I don't really want to do any cutting until I get a chance to use that new machine, but I got to come up with content somehow for you guys. So here I am trying to figure out, scratch my head on what the hell to do. I don't even know, you know, because I'm in this constant state of limbo. It's nuts. Anyways, I was really stoked about the 757 and how well it turned out. I mean, I got it sitting right here. I was really happy whenever I brought it back in to learn. I looked at it, and all it did was those bolts just vibrated loose. It didn't strip any threads or anything like that. And maybe I'll make a mount to go from here to here. Maybe not. I don't know. Probably just get a couple split washers and put them on there. That way those bolts won't vibrate loose. And it ran really good. And that chain cuts really good. I mean, I don't know how good it cuts, but it definitely cuts better than any EXL out of the box. You know, I mean, that's the EXL, it's the Oregon EXL. That's their full chisel non-safety chain, the new good one from Oregon. And they're good chains, but straight out of the box, they're not taking a very big bite at all. And if they did take a very big bite, the cutter probably isn't quite sharp enough to shear it off very well. So they benefit greatly from a good hand sharpening. And that's all I did to that, was just a regular just a plain old hand sharpening. And as I'm sure you've seen the videos, I've been getting pretty good at it, which is good. Finally, took long enough, didn't it? But you know, as I believe it was Matt House was the one who told me, he was just like, time on file. That's it. You can watch all the videos you want, and they will help. They will help. So I don't want to act like I'm saying don't watch the videos. I'm not saying that at all. They definitely help. And a lot of different people have good videos out there on how to sharpen a chain. But in reality, you are not going to be able to watch a video on how to sharpen a chain well and then just go out and be able to just put it into action perfectly. You know, it just, there's a rhythm to it. You got to get that muscle memory going. Otherwise, you're pushing a little bit too hard, and you turn as you do it and everything. But, you know, with anything else, you know, enough time and repetition doing it, you'll get good. You just got to stick with it. like me, you know. And next, I got to get good at square filing. My square files. I was just looking at one the other day. I was like, "Where'd this come from?" And I realized, oh, that's one that I filed. And I'm trying to find it here real quick. Where is it? Well, I don't see it. No, there it is. That's it. Yeah. So, yeah, this is a square file that I did. And I don't know. It's pretty shitty, you know? It is pretty shitty. But it does cut pretty good, you know. Anywho, long enough video. Holy crap, it's 26 minutes? Sorry, man, I am a motor mouth.